The Crimson Fleet's final hour. The alarm screamed through the corridors of Kepler Station as Commander Elena Vasquez watched humanity's last major fleet prepare for what everyone knew would be their final battle. Through the massive observation deck windows, she could see the sleek forms of 200 human warships arranging themselves in defensive formations around the station. Beautiful ships, she thought grimly, built with the best technology humanity could muster. But against what was coming, they might as well be paper boats facing a hurricane. "Commander, long-range sensors are picking up the Zephyrian fleet," called Captain Marcus Chen from the tactical station. His voice was steady, but Elena could see the tension in his shoulders. "Confirmed count is 1,500 vessels, including their flagship dreadnoughts." Elena closed her eyes for a moment. 7-1 odds. The Zephyrian Empire had been systematically crushing human colonies for 3 years now, and their biomechanical ships seemed to adapt to every weapon humanity threw at them. What made it worse was how effortlessly they did it. While humans struggled and bled for every small victory, the aliens seemed to view this war as little more than pest control. "Any word from Admiral Burke on Earth?" Elena asked, though she already knew the answer. "Negative, Commander. All hyperspace communications to Sol have been jammed for the past 6 hours. We're on our own." Dr. Sarah Williams looked up from her science station, her face pale but determined. "Elena, the data from our last engagement at Proxima shows their ships are adapting even faster now. Our plasma cannons were effective for maybe 10 minutes before their hulls developed immunity. The railguns lasted 15 minutes. We need something completely different if we're going to have any chance." Elena nodded. Sarah was right, as always. The young physicist had been studying Zephyrian technology for months, trying to find some weakness they could exploit. But every time humanity developed a new weapon or tactic, the aliens adapted within hours. It was like fighting an enemy that learned from every punch you threw. The command center fell silent as the tactical display updated. The Zephyrian fleet was moving in perfect formation, their ships looking like a swarm of metallic insects against the starfield. Each vessel was a nightmare blend of technology and biology, with hulls that could repair themselves and weapons that grew stronger with each battle. "All ships, this is Commander Vasquez," Elena said into her headset, her voice broadcasting to every human vessel in the fleet. "Today we make our stand. I won't lie to you about our chances. The numbers are against us, and we all know how these battles usually end. But remember why we're here. Behind us are 12 million civilians on Kepler Prime. Families, children, people who are counting on us to buy them time to evacuate." She paused, looking out at her fleet. These were good people, volunteers all. They could have fled to the outer rim territories, tried to hide in the darkness between stars. Instead, they chose to stand and fight. "I need you all to know something," Elena continued. "For the past 2 years, while we've been fighting and dying out here, our people back home haven't been sitting idle. There's something I haven't been authorized to tell you until now, but given our situation, I think you deserve to know. Project Shadow Protocol isn't just a theoretical weapons program. It's real, and it's been waiting for this moment." Captain Chen looked at her in surprise. Even he hadn't known about Shadow Protocol, and he was her most trusted officer. Elena had been carrying this secret alone for months, waiting for authorization that might never come. But with a Zephyrian armada bearing down on them, Protocol could go to hell. The Zephyrian fleet was close enough now that individual ships could be seen with the naked eye. Their flagship, a massive bio-dreadnought called the Soul Render, led the formation. Elena had studied intelligence reports on that ship. It had personally destroyed 15 human colonies, and its captain, War Master Krell, was known for taking prisoners alive to study human biology. "Incoming transmission from the Zephyrian flagship," reported the communications officer. "Put it through," Elena said. The main screen flickered, and the horrifying visage of Krell appeared. The Zephyrian looked like a cross between a mantis and a shark, with 4 arms ending in razor-sharp claws and eyes that seemed to see right through her. When he spoke, the translation came through in a voice like grinding metal. "Human Commander, I am War Master Krell of the Eternal Empire. Your species has shown remarkable persistence. But this ends now. Surrender your vessels, and your lives will be preserved for study. Resist and we will take them anyway, but with considerably more pain involved. Elena stepped forward, making sure the alien could see her clearly. War Master, this is Commander Elena Vasquez of the Human Defense Force. I have a counteroffer for you. Turn around and leave this system, and maybe we won't destroy your entire fleet. Krelthax made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. Amusing. Your species' capacity for self-delusion continues to astound us. Very well, human. We will add your bravery to our catalog of your people's interesting characteristics. The transmission ended, and Elena turned back to her crew. All ships, battle stations. Initiate combat spread formation. Let's show these bastards what humans do when they're cornered. The battle began with a thunderous exchange of fire. Human plasma cannons and missile salvos lit up space as they struck the advancing Zephyrian fleet. For a few glorious minutes, it looked like they might actually have a chance. Several alien ships took heavy damage, their biohulls venting atmosphere and fluid into space. But then, as always, the Zephyrians began to adapt. Their ships' hulls started to shimmer and change, developing resistance to the human weapons. Return fire began to find its mark, and Elena watched in horror as the destroyer, USS Valiant, was cut in half by a concentrated beam attack. They're adapting faster than ever, Sarah called out over the noise of battle. Our weapons are losing effectiveness after just 5 minutes of engagement. Elena gripped the command rail until her knuckles went white. This was it. This was the moment she had been dreading for months. The moment when she would have to make a choice that could save humanity or damn them all. Marcus, patch me through to Admiral Burke's private channel. Authorization code Shadow 77 Omega. Captain Chen's fingers flew over his console. Channel open, Commander. Admiral, this is Vasquez. The situation is critical. I'm requesting immediate authorization for Shadow Protocol activation. There was a long pause, filled only by the sounds of battle raging around them. Finally, Admiral Burke's voice came through, heavy with the weight of decision. Elena, you understand what you're asking. If Shadow Protocol fails, there's no backup plan. Humanity puts all its eggs in one basket. Sir, we're about to lose this battle anyway. At least this gives us a fighting chance. Another pause. Elena watched as 2 more human ships exploded under alien fire. Time was running out. Authorization granted, Burke said finally. May God help us all. Shadow Protocol is authorized for immediate activation. Elena felt a mixture of relief and terror wash over her. Sarah, access the Deep Space Communication Array. Send the activation signal to coordinates 12-7 Alpha 99 Theta. Full encryption, maximum power. Dr. Williams looked confused. Elena, those coordinates are in empty space. There's nothing there but cosmic dust and radiation. Trust me, Sarah, send the signal. Sarah's hands moved across her console, and Elena watched as a powerful transmission lanced out into the darkness between stars. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. The battle continued to rage around them, with human ships falling one by one to the relentless Zephyrian assault. Then something changed. The space around Kepler Station began to ripple, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The Zephyrian ships paused their advance, their sensors unable to explain what they were detecting. Elena, Sarah whispered, staring at her instruments, in disbelief. I'm reading massive energy signatures emerging from dark space. Whatever's out there, it's big. Really big. Elena smiled for the first time in hours. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to meet the real human defense force. The ships you see around us? They were never meant to win this war. They were meant to buy time for our real fleet to get into position. The darkness between the stars began to change. What had looked like empty space suddenly wasn't empty anymore. Ships began to materialize seemingly out of nothing. Not dozens of ships, not hundreds, but thousands. Sleek, angular vessels unlike anything humanity had built before, their hulls seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. Captain Chen stared at the tactical display in amazement. Commander, I'm reading over 500 vessels and the count is still climbing. These ships, they don't match any human design in our database. That's because they were built in secret, Marcus. For the past 3 years, while we've been fighting this holding action, our best engineers and scientists have been working on something the Zephyrians would never expect. Ships that can hide in the dark matter streams between galaxies. Ships that are invisible to conventional sensors. Ships that were designed specifically to hunt Zephyrians. The lead vessel of the mysterious fleet opened a communication channel. The voice that came through was crisp and professional, with just a hint of anticipation. Kepler Station. This is Admiral Patricia Knox, aboard the UHS Voidwalker. Sorry, we're late to the party. Hope you saved some aliens for us. Like ghosts in the dark. Between stars, the Zephyrian War Master Krelthax watched his tactical display with growing confusion as hundreds of unknown vessels materialized around his fleet. These ships didn't match any human design in the Empire's extensive database. They seemed to drink in light, their hulls appearing as tears in space itself. Analysis, he barked to his science officer. War Master, our sensors are having difficulty maintaining locks on these vessels. They appear to be utilizing some form of dark matter manipulation technology. This should be impossible for such a primitive species. Krelthax's forearms twitched in irritation. Throughout this war, humans had shown an annoying tendency to surprise the Empire with their innovations. But this was beyond anything they had demonstrated before. The ships surrounding his fleet looked more advanced than some Zephyrian designs. Aboard the UHS Voidwalker, Admiral Patricia Knox studied the tactical situation with the calm focus of someone who had spent 3 years preparing for this exact moment. The Voidwalker fleet had been humanity's greatest secret, built in the spaces between galaxies where no sensor could detect them. Each ship represented revolutionary technology that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Captain Torres, status of Squadron Alpha? Knox asked. Captain Rebecca Torres, commander of the lead attack squadron, checked her displays. All ships green, Admiral. Dark matter drives are operating at optimal efficiency, and the aliens still can't get a solid sensor lock on us. Knox nodded. The dark matter technology was humanity's greatest breakthrough, discovered by studying the mysterious energy that made up most of the universe. While the Zephyrians relied on conventional matter and energy, humans had learned to harness the invisible foundation of reality itself. Engineering, this is the Admiral. Jake, are our special weapons ready? Engineer Jake Morrison's voice came through the comm with barely contained excitement. Admiral, the quantum disruptors are charged and ready. We've also got the viral nanites loaded in all torpedo tubes. These bugs are going to get a very unpleasant surprise. The quantum disruptors were designed specifically to target the biomechanical nature of Zephyrian ships. Instead of trying to punch through their adaptive armor, the weapons would attack the quantum bonds holding their matter together. At the subatomic level, the viral nanites were even more insidious, designed to infiltrate Zephyrian biohulls and turn their own adaptive capabilities against them. All Voidwalker vessels, this is Admiral Knox. Today we show the galaxy that humanity doesn't just survive, we evolve. Execute attack pattern Ghost 7. The Voidwalker fleet seemed to simply vanish from Zephyrian sensors as they engaged their full stealth capabilities. What followed was unlike any space battle in recorded history. The aliens found themselves under attack by an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't track, and couldn't understand. Quantum disruptor beams lanced out from seemingly empty space, striking Zephyrian ships and causing entire sections of their hulls to simply cease to exist at the molecular level. The aliens' adaptive armor was useless against weapons that attacked the fundamental forces holding matter together. Impossible, Krelthax roared as his flagship shuddered under attack from invisible enemies. No species should possess such technology. His tactical officer was frantically trying to make sense of the battle. War Master, we're losing ships across the entire fleet. The enemy appears to be using some form of subspace manipulation to attack us from multiple dimensions, simultaneously. What the Zephyrians didn't understand was that humans had learned to think in ways that their rigid, hierarchical minds couldn't comprehend. Where the aliens saw the universe in terms of conquest and adaptation, humans saw endless possibilities for innovation and creative problem-solving. Captain Torres led her squadron in a series of hit-and-run attacks that seemed to defy physics. Her ships would appear long enough to fire, then vanish back into dark space before the Zephyrians could return fire. It was three-dimensional chess played at relativistic speeds, and the aliens were losing badly. "Torres to all squadrons," she called out over the tactical network. "Remember, we're not just fighting for victory. We're fighting to send a message. No one gets to push humanity around and walk away." The viral nanites were doing their work as well. Zephyrian ships began to convulse as their own biohulls turned against them, the nanites reprogramming their adaptive systems to reject their own molecular structure. Ships that had seemed invincible began to tear themselves apart from the inside. Meanwhile, on Kepler Station, Commander Vasquez watched the impossible battle unfold with a mixture of awe and relief. Her conventional fleet had been reduced to fewer than 50 ships, but the mysterious Voidwalkers were systematically dismantling a force 7 times their size. "Elena," Dr. Williams said, her voice filled with wonder, "the energy readings from those ships are off the charts. They're somehow drawing power directly from the quantum vacuum. That shouldn't be possible according to everything we know about physics." "Sarah, I've learned that impossible is just another word for we haven't figured it out yet," Elena replied. 3 years ago, we thought faster-than-light travel was impossible. 2 years ago, we thought artificial gravity was impossible. Apparently, we've been busy while the galaxy wasn't watching. The tide of battle was turning decisively. Zephyrian ships that had seemed unstoppable were being picked apart by an enemy they couldn't fight effectively. Their adaptive technology, which had made them nearly invincible against conventional weapons, was useless against attacks that bypassed the physical realm entirely. Supreme Commander Vexithara, the highest-ranking Zephyrian in the fleet, opened a communication channel to her remaining ships. "All vessels, execute retreat protocol immediately. This engagement is beyond our current capabilities." But Admiral Knox had anticipated this move. "All squadrons, initiate containment pattern Delta. Nothing leaves this system." The Voidwalker. Fleet spread out in a perfect sphere around the Zephyrian force, their dark matter drives allowing them to move at speeds that made conventional space combat look like slow motion. Every escape route was blocked by ships that the aliens couldn't even detect until it was too late. Krelthax realized with growing horror that his overwhelming fleet was now trapped by an enemy a fraction of their size. "This is impossible," he muttered. "How can such a primitive species have developed such advanced technology?" His answer came from an unexpected source. A new voice cut through the communications chaos, broadcast on all frequencies so that every ship in both fleets could hear it. "This is Admiral Thomas Burke, speaking from Earth. I think it's time you understood something about humanity, War Master. You see us as primitive because we're young. You dismiss us because we haven't conquered half the galaxy. But you made one critical error in your calculations. The transmission included visual data, and Krelthax found himself looking at a grizzled, human admiral sitting in what appeared to be a command center deep underground on Earth. You assumed that a species needs thousands of years to develop advanced technology. You assumed that conquest and subjugation were the only paths to power. But humans don't think like that. When we're pushed to the edge of extinction, we don't just adapt, we transcend. The fleet you're facing isn't the product of millennia of slow development. It's the result of 3 years of pure human desperation and innovation." Burke leaned forward, his eyes hard as steel. "Every time you destroyed one of our colonies, our scientists learned something new. Every time you adapted to our weapons, our engineers designed something better. You thought you were teaching us our place in the galaxy. Instead, you were giving us a masterclass in how to fight gods." The battle was nearing its end. The Zephyrian fleet, once numbering 1,500 ships, was down to fewer than 200 functional vessels. The Voidwalker fleet hadn't lost a single ship. "Admiral," Knox opened a channel to the remaining Zephyrian commanders. "Supreme Commander Vexithara, this is your final opportunity to surrender. You came to our system to demonstrate your superiority. Instead, you've demonstrated that the age of Zephyrian dominance is over." There was a long silence before Vexithara responded. "Admiral Knox, we did not expect such capabilities from your species. The Empire has underestimated humanity." "Yes, you have," Knox replied. "But we're not vindictive. Surrender now and your surviving crews will be treated according to the laws of war. Continue fighting, and we'll be forced to demonstrate some of our other new technologies. The threat was clear. If the quantum disruptors and viral nanites were just the beginning of humanity's new arsenal, what other horrors might they have developed? Supreme Commander Vexithara made the hardest decision of her career. All Zephyrian vessels, stand down weapons and prepare for surrender. This engagement is concluded. As the battle ended, Captain Torres couldn't help but smile as she looked out at the disabled Zephyrian fleet. "You know what the best part is?" she said to her crew. "We didn't just win a battle, we won a war. When word of this gets out, every species in the galaxy is going to know that humanity isn't prey anymore." Admiral Knox nodded as she watched the aftermath of the battle. The Voidwalker project had been humanity's greatest gamble, requiring resources and scientific breakthroughs that pushed their civilization to its limits. But it had worked. More than worked. It had announced to the galaxy that humanity was ready to take its place among the stars not as victims, but as equals. Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of Kepler Station, watching as human ships began rescue operations for both their own wounded and the surrendered Zephyrians. The war was over, but more than that, humanity had proven something to itself and to the galaxy. "Sarah," Elena said to Dr. Williams, who was still staring at the impossible readings from the Voidwalker fleet, "what do you think comes next?" Sarah smiled, her scientific mind already racing with possibilities. "Elena, I think we're about to find out just how big the universe really is. And I think it's going to be amazing." In the darkness between stars, more Voidwalker ships continued their patrol routes, invisible guardians ensuring that what happened at Kepler would never happen again. Humanity had learned to hunt in the dark, and the galaxy would never be the same.